Hello.
There he is.
Hey. Hello.
Howdy.
Welcome to
Well,
another
thank you
episode
very
of
much.
Carvers and Creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with sculptors, carvers, and multi-talented artists from around the world. If you're a fan of the show and you like what we do, be sure to give us a like and a follow on the platform you're watching us on. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Let's meet the artist, shall we? First, he's down the bottom there. He is an artist and sculptor from Tucson, Arizona, and a Halloween Wars finalist. It's Mr. Matt Hopper. Hey, Matty.
Hi, guys. Hello.
Hello. Mm-hmm. My name is Paul Dever. I'm an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts. And joining us tonight is an amazing actor, fabricator, and artist all the way from Los Angeles, California. Tonight, we welcome Gordon Tarpley.
Hello.
Hi, Gordon.
Howdy.
How are you, pal? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. I'm a huge fan. You make me laugh every time I see you on screen.
Oh, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. And not only that, I'm a huge fan of your page because you post funny shit.
Funny as hell, man.
It's the teeth. Where are they? Hold on a second.
You've got them handy? Oh, I need a set of these.
Oh, here we go. Let me blow you up.
Look at those things.
Oh.
Yeah, let me.
Hold
I
on.
gotta get you a little bit bigger. I want.
You put it back in.
Oh, yeah. Sweet
Hey.
teeth. Those are amazing.
I have a ton. This pair in particular of all like the internet following I got, I credit a huge chunk of them to these teeth, which are actually football mouth guard. It's a football mouth guard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at
That I got like 20 years ago from Walmart in a sale bin for $1. I wish I bought 10 pairs of these. And my wife, who I've been with for about 20 years, the first time we met in person, I had these in my mouth. I was at work and she walked in the room and I was wearing these teeth. So they're winners.
That's the deal right there.
Yeah.
Romantic. They're quite romantic. You can tell. Oh, great. Oh my god.
All right, so let's run you through the show a little bit. So what we do every week, we're going to take a carving challenge by spinning a wheel, and whatever the wheel decides is what we have to do that week. Should we sometimes I don't want to take it. Sometimes I want. AI would be great to just speak into a phone at this point, you know what I'm saying? But what we're going to do is before we do anything, we have to see what we did last week because all of us turned them in, and I'm very proud of us for doing that. I'm not happy with mine at all. I hate it.
Garbage.
So, Maddie, why don't we run them through here?
I'm like trying to stall because mine sucks. So
yeah, I like it. Was a very Alice in Wonderland kitty.
Yeah, it was a furious feline, and I kept like struggling with it, and I wanted it to make it look like an old timey storybook kind of cat, like where they're not, anyway.
No, it's
anyway,
good.
I just kept messing with it. And finally, you know what? I'm just gonna take a picture and. Not my favorite, but it's done now.
So, was that a squash?
Yeah, a butternut. Yep.
It was a butternut. Did you glue the ears on, or were you able to cut it right out?
No, those were just I carved it. It was really tall, so I just carved it down, and so those are part of it.
Nice. No, it came out good, man. Cat's eyes is tough. It's.
I know. I hated doing them, man. I mean, onward and upward. Dude,
this is the worst thing I've ever put on. This is the worst thing I've carved in a long time. But
wow,
what are you gonna do?
Well, it has that cartoony,
Well, that's what. I certainly wasn't trying to do a portrait on a butternut.
Like a high school mascot. Like that's
a pissy kitty is what I was going for. Not a
there you go. That works.
Furious feline.
And then our buddy Ted, who is
Ted from the top rope.
Yeah, turn the thing upside down. So normally, Gordon, the bell of it is like the empty part is up top. So he got smart and turned it upside down, made the head bigger, and opened it. It
is smart too because the cat's face just gets so narrow at the jaw, especially when they open up.
Yeah,
it's got that Siamese cat, like that hairless cat look, whatever those are.
Yeah,
it does.
And you use the potatoes for the teeth.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Ted's like on the fast track.
I know. Ted just started carving. He's already blowing past us. Damn it!
Great job, Ted. Killed it.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd like to introduce you to the fourth member of Carvers and Creators, responsible for our carving challenge tonight. It is the Hello Whale, the center spinner. It is all things that we sometimes love, but most of the time fear. And we'll show it to you right now. And here she is in all her glory.
Oh dear.
Gordon, meet wheel. Right. So tonight we're going to spin it 2 times. The first time we spin it will be the character to which we have to carve. The second spin will be our attribute goes along with it. So our choices tonight are skull, mythical, guest choice. So have one ready. Old West, giant, Viking, never going to carve a feline again, baby, hillbilly, or orc. Second spin will be exhausted, extinguished. Guest choice once again, crazy, annoyed, excited, furious, sad, flustered, or terrified. I am terrified that it lands on cat again. Okay. All right. So I moved the wheel a little. You'd think I'd know how this thing works by now, but it don't. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Here we go.
First time.
Oh, it's a good spin.
Big bucks. Oh.
Old West.
Old West.
Ooh.
Okay, whatever that means. Well, that's good.
Okay. This Old West person. Oh, come on. I got one in mind. Please.
Come on, baby. It is
Not even close. Annoyed.
All
Just
right.
me. Not just me. The wheel landed on annoyed.
yeah.
It's an annoyed old Westy type character.
Annoyed old Westy.
I'm putting it in the chat right now, so at least we have to. It kind of makes it official when we start putting it in the chat. It just makes
Especially when you're putting it 3 times.
Well, once it's enough, but it does duplicate it for every one of the things we're on right now.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's a good point. Throws it all out there. Well, hello everybody. Before we start carving, I don't know about you, but the joints are a little stiff. I need a little carving oil. So at this point, we usually like to go around the horn, do a ceremonial toast, see what we're having for a beverage this fine evening. I know it's still a little early for you guys, but as such is tradition, we must go around the horn. So, Mr. Harper, would you like to begin?
Oh, of course. I have some leftovers from our from a very fun what was it, St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, is that what they call that now? Nice.
St. Patty's, so I've got 2 choices. I got a harp and a Smithwick's
Red Ale, yummy.
So I guess either way, I can't go too wrong. This one's 4.5 alcohol, but it's it's like it'll just barely lube the joints, but it'll get me started.
It'll start the engine.
Exactly, something's got to work.
Gordon, what do you got?
I have Crystal Light. Water with some Crystal Light, one of these little drink packets. These things are amazing, and it's delicious and hydrating. I love it.
I've been on something lately. It comes in a big bottle, but it's the same thing like electrolytes. I can't drink water anymore. Water's too boring.
Water is so freaking boring, and I keep all these little packets of stuff around just to make it taste better because I got to drink a lot, and then I just plain water is the worst.
Well, clean water's for chumps.
Yeah, it's like what are people doing? They could add stuff to it, make it delicious. I'm taking that.
Seriously.
Well, Gordon, you have a kind of a lot of posts about your running. I know you do a lot of working out and running, so I'm assuming you're always kind of hydrated because you have to stay in shape for work and for everything else.
I try to. The thing is, for me, I am terrible at drinking water. I never get thirsty, so I have to force myself to drink. It's a big thing I have to mentally do. So, yeah.
Okay.
But if you love lemonade,
I will drink that. It tastes good.
If you love what you drink, does it work? Really?
Yeah, it makes it so much easier.
It really does.
What are you drinking, Paul?
I'm going to have, which I have coined is, usually I'll have a craft beer, but tonight I'm going to have a Matt Harper.
Whoa.
Which a Matt Harper is when you don't have the right kind of beer and you just dump some whiskey into Coca-Cola.
Oh.
Yes, it's a Matt Harper, like an old-fashioned or an Arnold Palmer. It's the Tucson. It's the Tucson Arnie Palmer, and
with a little kick in it.
Harper. Yeah, a little. Thank you. Well, I feel so honored. I got a drink named after me.
Fantastic. Well, cheers to everybody watching, and cheers to Gordon for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, we can't wait to dig into your stuff. You got so much stuff. Cheers, guys.
So, all right. So, my first question of the night is: were you an actor or fabricator first?
I always made stuff since I was a kid. My whole family is like real creative people, and my dad and my grandfather both everybody in my family, but my dad, my grandfather in particular, would just always have weird projects and just be making things. And I was around it since I was little. So I can't remember not having my hands in something, you know what I mean? So I've definitely, that was first. In high school, I took drama class for, I think, 3 out of the 4 years of my high school. So I was kind of like I like doing that, but I lived in Florida, so it wasn't available to me. There wasn't really much around. And when I got out here to California, I started getting a lot of just random parts. People wanted me to be 3PO for stuff. And it turned out to be like, I just led this. I got Taft-Hartley like right away, almost like 20 months after I got here. So I was like SAG eligible for a long time. I didn't join the union until a few years ago, but when I got Taft-Hartley, I didn't realize how tricky it is for a lot of people to join the union. And I was like, I guess if I want to join, I can join now. But some people work for years and don't have the opportunity. So that was interesting. But more and more that I love being on set no matter what. Like if it's performing, or if I would be a wrangler for somebody, if someone else is a performer and they just need someone to like take their helmet on off, I'm happy to do that. I love doing just being on set in general and making props or costumes or set stuff or being a PA. I love it all. So
just being around it is cool.
And then this picture was taken. I actually still lived in Florida in 2013, and I came out here. A guy flew me out to do 3PO for this for a spoof film he's doing for like right after Disney bought Lucasfilm, and they were filming this thing. And this spot where I'm at is like maybe like 40 minutes from where I live now. And when I was in Florida, there's nothing like this in Florida. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Now I go here every couple months. I'll drive up here and hang out. But for future episode, random, I'm going to say it right now, that R2D2 belongs to my friend Michael McMaster, and he's amazing. So you should have him on. I'll get you guys connected because he is fantastic.
Definitely do. Wow. We'd love to have him on.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing too is I know you're also a Star Wars fanatic, and I think I've seen a couple. Again, I'll admit I follow the living hell out of you and see your stuff all the time, and I know you've gone to it looked like it was like a gathering of other folks who had these type of costumes and R2s and other stuff. I mean, tell us about that because we got a ton of Star Wars stuff in here for you.
So my friend Mike Senna has a thing every year called R2LA. Nice. And there's an R2 builder group online, which I've been part of since 2010 or 11. And all these R2 builders will get together, and he has a whole meetup at his house here in California. And I've been going to it pretty much every year except during the COVID stuff when he didn't do it. And it's wild because like all my friends build these robots and I see them all the time. You kind of take it for granted, but it's one of those things if you're not around it, it's like, oh my God, these are crazy. But when you're around it all the time, everybody's got like, at least a droid or enough parts to make like 4 other ones kicking around. It's just kind of it becomes you're desensitized to it. And this one here that you have on screen was built by Michael McMaster for the Science of Star Wars show, and now it lives up at Lucasfilm. But I did all the paint work on this one, so I did the paint, and I made a couple of the small pieces, the little arms that come out of the chest. I made.
Oh yeah. I think we have pieces of those.
That's them, and just my other little bits, but the paint on it I was real proud of. We did it. It was really fast turnaround for the paint. So it was a fun project. But Michael McMaster built the droid. I did the paint, a couple pieces. Fun, really fun. It's cool to see it show up places too. And it lived at StarWars.com where up at in Lucasfilm. So when they have the Star Wars show on YouTube, it would like make an appearance from time to time.
Oh, that's great.
And there's the 3PO.
Yeah.
How do you get that finish?
It is the product I use for that is called Angel Gilding. It's like a spray silver. It's literally the same chemical as they use to make mirrors. So it's a whole chemical process. You have to have a really, really smooth, glassy finish to start with, and then you spray these chemicals and it develops silver. I'm about to do some more pieces. I've had a stack of parts that need to be done for months and months. And every time I have a chance that the conditions aren't right, I'm trying to get that done like before the end of next month. So I'll be doing more. If anyone wants to watch, I'll be posting online. But yeah, it's spray. It's literally silver, what they use for mirrors. It's the same stuff they did for the New Hope and Empire Strikes Back C-3PO suits were done in a very similar way.
Really shiny one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when they did Jedi. They went to back metallizing, it's just as shiny. You can really not tell them apart, but it's a slightly different process. And this is the same. Those are the same suit, but it's the one on the left is after I chromed it, and then on the right I weathered it. Went to Adam Savage, and it lived in his Chewbacca backpack. So it had to be all weathered down. So I chromed it and then just totally made it super dirty right away. So this was like hours apart. Same suit.
Wow.
So
you're a fabricator too. So you fabricated all these parts?
Yeah. And I've got molds for most of the pieces. And with the 3PO, the pieces I have are basically lineage to screen use suits. Like I got castings that are from first generation castings from copy of a screen use suit, and then I molded those, and these are just like fiberglass copies for my molds. And then like the arms and stuff are 3D printed. I made those, just modeled that, and all the little greeble pieces, the little detail bits, I modeled and printed those, and
so is this wearable, or is this just a
this one is not, just because of the way I made it. You can't take it apart. I like sealed it up, and it was part of the deal when Adam asked me about it. It was one of those things where I was like, look, I could give you a really good price if I just basically close it up. To make all the fittings and attachments takes a lot of time, and I was like, make the price go crazy. So I'm like, you're just gonna throw it in a backpack. Let me just do it like this, and then make it easier. But like the one I have back here is from the same molds as this one. So and that one's wearable. The one behind me is like my costume. So
that's awesome.
Here's a little bit more from you. Okay.
Just painting the droid, doing all that, taping lots of things and making little lines. And
like you do. Is this in this case, is there I remember this vaguely. Does this have like a reference from like so you can know all the colors and the battle damage and all that stuff too?
Yeah. They gave us artwork, and that was the thing, is the artwork had the damage. And like if you look on the body of the droid down there on the far right, there's scratches and stuff. Those are all just highlights painted and shadows painted. There's no actual damage on the droid at all. And I just really, we did that like in a day, all the weathering and all the little scratches really, really fast. I'm happy with how it came out with the speed that had to be turned around.
Badass.
It is. You're talking about the one behind you. Let me zoom in. I'd love to see that real quick. I'm sorry, I got the wrong. You're not Gordon, Paul. Come on. I want to see the one behind. Yeah, there we go. And the suits you got behind you, it's crazy.
Yeah, those are fun. So the one I'm backwards here. This one here is, it's in progress right now, and it'll be wearable. It's almost wearable. I can make it wearable in a couple days, but it's almost there. These guys are all wearable. This one is my RA7. I sculpted it in ZBrush, and the shorts I sculpted in clay. It's in the same shorts on 3PO RA7. I'm all backwards here. 3PO RA7 and the CZ3 all have the shorts are sculpted out of clay, and then I molded them. The droid over here, right here, that's AD3. That's the droid costume I made for Jedi Temple Challenge, which is a kids game show that I worked on for Lucasfilm. It's supposed to come out on Disney Plus, and then last minute, right when COVID hit, and they moved it to StarWarsKids.com. But I got to be the droid for an entire season of a show as a co-host, which was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, how fun!
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. And it was with Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks, was the host, and he was Kelleran Beck. So anybody who's watched the new seasons of Mandalorian, and when Ahmed Best makes his appearance on there, that's the same character as his his host character from the Jedi Temple Challenge show.
Wow.
And I was quite excited to see that when it came up. I'm like, oh my God, Ahmed's on here. This is crazy. And that's the same droid as that one, but it's actually a different head. So the head that's on this one now is the first version of the one that I did. I'm real proud of the sculpt, but it's slightly big, and I ended up redoing it. But that version is at Galaxy's Edge. If you go in like the droid builder rooms, there's a bunch of droid parts all over the place. And they used my RA7 torso, arms, and head, and I made an EV99, from Jabba's droid torture room.
Mhm.
And so I just made the master patterns for those. Then the people Imagineering did castings of them, and there's tons of them, but they're my sculptures, which is I'm really happy about. And this first one that's actually highlighted here, the head was all sculpted in clay, molded and cast, whereas the newer one I sculpted in ZBrush, and they look very similar, but it's slight scale difference. Stuff will annoy me. I'm like, oh, it's too big. I got to change it.
So because you're in so many of these things, I mean, when you're sculpting them, do you try to picture yourself in it? I mean, or do you build them so that you can actually have the option of getting in the droid suit?
That's a good question. I with these, I try to make them as accurate as possible, and fortunately, I can kind of fit in that, which is good. So if there's every once in a while, I'll take a liberty with something to make it more friendly for a handler to put on. So certain things I try to make them so that if they're all screwed on. So when somebody puts me in that costume, there's like nuts and bolts that hold it together. And I don't want the handler, especially if it's somebody that doesn't know me well, to be like nervous because the people get weird about it. Like put me in like, I don't want to pinch you, or I don't want you to, and if I can make it easy for them, then it's easier for me. So I'll take some liberties there, but otherwise I try to make them as accurate as possible. And that's my main goal. If I fit in there, great. If I don't, then maybe I'll try to change something, but I haven't had to yet. And those shorts there are the ones that are on these droids here. And when I was in the process of making those, I got access to a set of real shorts from 3PO shorts, but they're on that droid Forlom from Empire Strikes Back and the Rancho Obi-Wan up in Petaluma, giant Star Wars collection. He's got the actual screen used shorts. And we built this big sandcrawler set that was at Star Wars Celebration like 2015 up to, did we lose you for a second?
Nope, just a second.
You're good.
Took sandcrawler set up to Petaluma, and we stayed up at Rancho Obi-Wan for, I don't know, like 5 days or something to install this thing. And Steve Sansweet let me go into the cabinet, take out those 3PO shorts and measure them and get tons and tons of reference. So I was in the middle of sculpting the shorts. It was just real random. I was in the process of sculpting them, and then I got access to the real set. So I got all the measurements. And so when I got home, I like corrected my sculptures to, make it as accurate as possible. So
how long ago was that?
2017, maybe something like that.
I know because Ted was showing us how when he went to a recent set, a lot of things are now like digitally, what do you call it? Captured, like 3D digitally captured.
Yeah.
With a camera. I mentioned what fun it would have been to go and just do that and just go and zap everything and have it exact. Down. You don't have to hope you get it right. It's totally right.
So that's it. Some of these conventions now, they'll have like the real props out. And I haven't done this yet, but a friend of mine models a lot of these droids. He puts the files up online. And when they had the last Star Wars Celebration, he was going around looking at all the real props and just scanning stuff with his phone. And it's not, it's the detail is good and it's generally the right size, but you still have to go in and remodel everything. But you have like this really accurate, base shape to work off of. So handy.
Yeah, Ted turned me on to one on my phone. I'll just tell you the name of it. It's called Polycam, and and it's crazy. I mean, it's not super cheap, but it's like you get pretty good registration and everything else. And I imagine that'd be like if you're not walking around with a scanner, it'd be perfect.
It's so handy. And the thing is, even with the scanner, so like this droid here is all that's scanned from the original costume. It's from the archives. It's the full scan. But even with a really good scan, there's a ton of cleanup that needs to be done. So you kind of hit a tipping point where do you just remodel it and use the scan as reference, or do you clean up the scan? And I
guess it depends on your what your level of expertise is with like ZBrush or something, right? Yeah. That totally makes a big difference. Or sometimes like I use Fusion 360 a lot if it's more mechanical stuff, and like to bring the scan in as reference and just model around it, and you got like a really clean new model, but it's right up to scale with the original. That's very, very handy.
Well, I got a question for you. I kind of wanted to ask this. And so, what's a day in the life for Gordon? I know you work out. You got a million things going on all the time. But I mean, between the studio, carving, sculpting, running, doing all this, and even posting all your stuff. What's a day in the life for you?
Oh my God, it is very random from day to day. Who knows? Like last week, I was on. I did 2 shoots last week, so it was like, and it was 3 days of being on set, 2 different things, and then both of them required like a couple of days of prep to get ready because I had to get a costume ready for one, and then the other one I made these stunt branches because I had the character, I was like a creature in this thing, and this guy smacks it in the face with a stick, and I was like, oh well, they needed like a rubber branch, so I made a couple of rubber branches. I had to do that. So I get up in the morning, I'm like doing some foam fabrication and carving some texture bark, and then the next morning get up super early and go to a hotel and 4:30 in the morning get put in some creature makeup. Then I have to drive in the creature makeup out to this remote location with no internet.
That's got to be fun. Like staring at somebody in their car while you're in your.
Oh, dude, it's the best. I love taking makeup. That's one thing working with. We talked about Dan Crowley. Is like working with Dan is that like he always lets me just leave with the makeups on and I go do a bunch of goofy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But typically, like I said, we moved into this house, and when I'm not working on like a project, I am trying to work on the house as much as possible. And, like I tore out the whole kitchen, put a new kitchen in, which is like 85% done. We can use it and stuff now, but it's not finished, and painted all the walls, put in the floors. And in this room, I've like, extended out the closet, just a lot of like construction kind of crap. That's just endless. And there's so much of it to do. But yeah, I don't even know. I get up 7 in the morning. I just try to figure out how to squeeze everything in, whatever I can get done in the time. So
it was always different. I mean,
it's always different.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just again, I'll throw this out to everyone else. I mean, just follow Gordon because it's just actually really fun, and you see a lot of cool stuff. You see all the cool stuff you do and your characters and the stuff you make, but you also are very good astute at posting funny shit too. So I'll stop talking about that. But I am a fan. I am a fan.
These guys here, these are for Galaxy's Edge and Oga's Cantina. They're all the drink dispensers in the cantina.
Cool.
And so those I made, I don't even know. I did them for Orlando and for Anaheim. There's tons of them. You see my little red caps on the alternate dispensers back there.
So you have them in Orlando as well, huh? That's right. You're Florida too. I just went there recently this past season.
Oh, crazy!
I went by myself because I was down there carving.
Wow!
And I had nothing to do during the day, so I just.
Where were you carving in Florida? Were you at a convention, or were you doing it for
Lake Nona?
Okay,
something
by Orlando. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a suburb of I don't know. I'm not sure how Florida works with the suburbs. I just know there was a city inside of a city. It was pretty cool.
Those are the parts that those were the droid parts for Galaxy's Edge. Those are literally the pieces that I sent for them to cast, and then those are all the copies of those are what's in the droid workshop. Yeah.
Okay.
Galaxy's Edge.
Are those? If I recall, I mean, I went to the Orlando one, and I remember seeing the like in the workshop. Is that right next to Millennium Falcon where they have like they're moving like on a conveyor belt looking thing?
Yeah, there's like a conveyor going around the ceiling. There's a bunch of hanging pieces, and then there's droid parts just everywhere. And it's kind of awesome because I would go in there and there's multiple copies of these pieces. And I gotta say, when I was, I don't know, like years ago, it's probably like 18 or whatever, when they had Star Tours, and I'd go through that ride and it'd have all the stuff, droid parts and everything. I would like, how am I going to steal this? How can I break in here and steal this shit?
Parts. Yeah.
And now I have parts in the parks too, and I'm like, it's so wild. It doesn't feel real. I'm pretty convinced that we're in the Matrix, and I'm like, I don't even know if anything's real, honestly. That's first casting one of those parts.
Oh, wow.
And I did the initial ones for Scum and Villainy Cantina here in Los Angeles. My friend has a Star Wars. It was supposed to be a pop-up bar. It's only going to be up there for like I don't know, a couple months or something, and it's still running all these years later. But he knew that I had one of these original engine parts. It's from a Rolls-Royce Derwent jet engine, and I looked for one for years, and I finally got one right about the time I moved to LA. And the intent was to mold it, cast it. And he knew this, and he opened the canteen. He's like, "Hey, you got that part? You want to mold that piece?" And I was like, "Yep." So the first 8 went to the cantina, and that's the very first casting out of the mold. And now I've made 96 castings out of that mold so far.
Wow, it's held up.
Well, you built a good mold. That's impressive by itself.
It's probably one of the better molds I've done as far as just like the quality of what I put into. I've had tons of molds that work just fine, but they're not pretty. And this one, it's been pretty bulletproof. I'm very happy with it.
That's awesome.
Here's my EV99.
Let me just ask you a quick question. When you were a kid and you wanted to figure out a way to smuggle out some of those parts, are you the first guy talking to security about the little punks that are eyeballing your stuff now that your stuff is in there?
No, I'd be honored if someone stole my stuff out of there. I'd be like, "Oh my God, they took something of mine. That's so flattering." They got the molds. They could replace pretty much any of it. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't feel too bad. But most of it's actually my brother works for a place now called Mad Fab in Orlando. They do all this stuff for theme parks, and the things they do to make the props not movable is crazy. Like there's like structure inside there, and they're like welded down and stuff, and it's crazy. It's like you couldn't move them. There's droids are sitting outside of the droid factory. There's a bunch that are outdoors.
Yeah,
you cannot move them. Unless you go in there with a jackhammer, you're not taking them out.
Wow.
They're not going anywhere because there's like a foot or foot and a half of aluminum bar part of the leg that goes down into the ground. It's crazy. So,
oh my God. Yeah. Plus it has to be pretty weatherproof, and you know, I mean, literally they're sitting. I recall they're sitting outside, that's crazy.
It's pretty impressive how they do that. I mean, I'd gone in rides when I was younger, and Islands of Adventure or something, and have like, what was it, the Dueling Dragons roller coaster, and had all this cool medieval stuff everywhere, and there'd be pitchforks on the wall, and you go to move it, it's locked in. It's like, lean up. Oh, that's a real RoboCop suit. It's RoboCop's not that much taller than me, but it's on a wheeled base, which is like 4 inches tall. You can't tell in this picture because of the angle, and I'm in socks because this is like a photo backdrop. I didn't want to walk out on my shoes, even though it's all marked up. But Prop Store had all the pieces, and I think they were from Phil Tippett's place. Like he had the suit, it was in the auction, and they'd had me come out. I do all this work through Tom Spina, by the way. So if I do restoration work, it's usually through Tom Spina, and they wanted me to come out and like not do a full restoration, but they wanted me to make it look presentable because like the whole ab section was falling apart and the chin thing was all just coming to piece, just breaking down. And so I had to put it all back together, and I made the mannequin for it and all that stuff. And
so how do you get a name? How do you get a name for like suit restoration? I mean, I know you're super talented like when it comes to like doing all this stuff, but when it comes to like
all through Tom Spina. If you can get Tom Spina on there, he's awesome, and he's gotten me so much work doing restoration. And when I first got to California, I mean, I think the first week I was out here, I met Tom Spina. I'd followed him online for a long time, and he's in New York, in Long Island, and he was out here for Monster Palooza, and I was like, I'm going to Monster Palooza this weekend. He's like, I'll be there. We met. We clicked right away. And we started including me on stuff. He brought me to some collector's house, showed me this crazy prop collection. I'm a huge fan of movie props, and nobody has that stuff in Florida. So to go to someone's house and they've got like just heaps of screen used Star Wars stuff, and my brain was broken for a few days. But about, I don't know, 2 months later, maybe maybe not even that long, Tom came back out to California to work on the Rick Baker auction for Prop Store, and he just invited me to come look at the stuff because he knew I'd be a fan of the props, and I just had so much work. And I was like, man, if I can do a bunch of stuff, if you need me to help with anything, if you need help, let me know. And he's like, yeah, maybe you could figure out something for you to do. And he doesn't know me that well, what I can do. So he's had me come out and start with some basic, like, I think the very first thing I got to work on that was an actual prop was from Gremlins 2, I think, was one of the melting gremlins, the skeletons, and it was kind of falling apart. And I had to piece it back together and, glue some little pieces. Real easy stuff.
Yeah.
And then he kept giving me more and more and more things. And then they just got to where he trusted me. And now when stuff comes up, they'll call him for prop store, or sometimes like a collector out here will have something and they'll send me, to wherever it is. And yeah, that's kind of how that got started. All because of Tom. Tom's one of my favorite people. He's awesome. So
yeah, he's the guy when it comes to restoration. His job on American Well, it's
amazing, right?
It looks brand new. I mean, that thing looked terrible.
Oh no, he's got a fantastic eye, and then a lot of the things. I've done a ton of work for him for Regal Robot, which is this other company, and there's TikTok. That's so this is
Return to Oz.
Yeah, and this is one of the real TikToks, and this was for Brandon Allinger. And I actually did this one. It was supposed to just be a paint job. I ended up doing a lot of restoration on it, and it was supposed to be at my house for like, I don't know, a month or something, and I ended up being there for a year and a half.
Wow.
Because I got injured. I had 3 surgeries in the hospital for a bunch of time, and so during the time when I got injured, this was living at my house. It's one of my favorite movie costumes ever.
Yeah.
And here it is at my house every day. I'm I'm staring at it like, I can't believe this is at my house. And this is after I did all the work for it. Brandon got it, and it had some awful, like somebody had spray painted it, some terrible copper color. It's really bad. And he's like, you think you could do, like kind of make it look like the movie ones. And I was like, yeah. And so like strip it all down, repaint it, and it turned out it needed a bunch of pieces. So like all the little pulleys, and I remade the fingers, the mustache, the eyelids, the ears, ton of stuff. But I was always fascinated by this since I was a kid, because the performer that was inside it was probably close to my height. I'm 5'10", and he would stand in it and lean over and look between his legs. There's a monitor between his legs where he could see himself from some other camera on stage, just like where he's at. And the whole top rotates, and to work the arms, he had to reach around like this to work the levers for the arms. But inside, he's tucked down. It's really, really nuts. And so this prop has all that stuff inside. You lift it open, and it has all the straps inside, the mounts for the TV, the servos for the head. Like, it's all in there. It's super cool.
Oh, wow.
And what else they do? There's on the back, there's got the keys, because there's like action, speech, and like thinking or whatever. There's like 3 different keys you have to wind up to make them work.
Yeah.
And I think Brandon had 1 or 2 of the original keys, and there's one missing. I remade all of them so that he could take the originals and just keep them separate so they wouldn't get lost. And same with the fingers. He had like 8 of the fingers or 7 of the fingers, and they're all like, the little wires were broken off. So I remade them all just separate, made them out of resin, and then he could keep the other ones like, in a safe spot. These get binged up. It's not like, he's not losing everything. But really fast. Oh, and the little badge on the chest was remade because it was missing the whole little panel. But such an awesome project. Took me way longer than I initially planned. Again, because I was like bedridden for like half of the time. So it was great.
Now, I don't know if we even touched on this. Do you have any formal training, or are you just completely self-taught?
I don't have formal training, but I also had like I said, we had family that always made stuff. Like, everybody did artwork and so forth. So I kind of had guidance when I was a kid. I wouldn't consider myself. Self-taught's a weird thing. Like, yeah, I kind of took it upon myself to learn these things, but I had a lot of, internet teachers and so forth. Like, use YouTube all the time. And so I consider all those people my teachers. Even if it was my initiative that got me to the place, it was still like, I milked everybody's brains as much as possible.
But you weren't like strapped with debt.
No. When I was a kid, in high school, my senior year of high school, I changed schools, and it was really close to the beach, and I would skip school all the time to go surfing, and I just didn't care. There's no intent of dropping out or anything like that, but I would skip all the time to go if there's waves or do whatever. And they thought that I was like a dropout risk. So they're like, oh, we're going to, we have this program. It's called Fast Track. You can work at your own pace, and you get to go to a technical school for free, like a school where people are paying to go. And they had a graphic design program. So I went for graphic design years ago, which has led to all kinds of random things. Even though it's not doing the same kind of work, it opened a lot of doors for me in a weird way.
Sure.
And it was free, and that was great. And it was like a technical school, so it was like one of those 2-year program. It wasn't a 4-year college degree or anything like that.
The lesson here, kids, is just act like you're about to be drop out. You'll get a free education.
That's the thing is, if you're motivated, I mean, I can't tell you the last time. I don't even remember last time I've worked with somebody who really had formal training, and if they did, nobody asked them if they did. Tons of talented people that are just self-motivated. It's like,
love it.
You want to go sculpt a thing, go do it, and then you never know what it leads to. I feel like being, I don't know, creative. You want to make stuff on your own. If you share it, that's where it opens a lot of doors, because people see you do a thing and they're like, oh, you can do this. You want to try this? And we're like, all right. And then it gets really broad, the range of skills, and then people come to you with all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I love it.
It is. Well, people can see your passion in it too. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to be. You don't have to have a piece of paper that says you were trained in how to do it if you already know how to do it, and you're doing it because you want to do it.
Exactly. Some of it's like adds up. Like, if you could do, A and B, you could probably do C. It's like enough related elements to, like making a mold. If you could sculpt, like you could kind of think like, oh, if I do my, my clay pour like this, or it's going to be fine. Yeah. Oh, look, there's me and Ozzy. Hey, buddies. Yeah.
No big deal. No big deal.
Just you and Ozzy. And by the way, you talked about doing drama for a few years in high school. I think this is because you're acting in this ad is so good. Or this is an ad. This is a music video, right?
This is for Omaze. This came out. We did a music video.
Okay, it is okay.
And Omaze was giving away a Dodge Demon, and so the whole gag was that Ozzy's Demon was coming in and sees him trying to come up with the ad campaign for giving away a Demon, and he thinks it's him. And this one was from the music video. So this was a couple months earlier.
Two different. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, two different shoots. Same makeup, basically. And but after we did the music video, they wanted to do the Demon for this Omaze campaign.
Okay.
And I got to do it again. And it's just thanks to Richard Redlison, who's an amazing makeup artist. You should look him up. Richard Redlison, he's worked on so much good stuff. I mean, huge movies giant celebrities, and he basically got me this opportunity. He's like, doing this music video, do you want to be in it? I'm like, yep. And I didn't know it was for Ozzy at the time. I didn't know any of the stuff. It was just real, this is the date, this is the thing. I was like, cool, I'm in. And then a couple weeks later, he told me who it was for. And then it's that point, it still wasn't locked in yet. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing.
Yeah.
And when it finally worked out, and there it is. It's on set. It was wild. I've been a fan of Ozzy since I was a kid. So that was
same. Yeah.
It was pretty surreal to be there with him. And he's like, between when we filmed that music video and the Omaze thing, when we filmed the music video, he was dealing with a lot of pain. And so Ozzy would be, in between takes, he was just like, did not look good. And as soon as the camera comes on, he could just click it on and do, look great. But the camera stopped, he'd just be like, ugh. And then after that was recorded, maybe I don't know, a month later, he got neck surgery that was helped him with some of his nerves. So when we did the Omaze video, he was in a lot better shape. But it was he's super professional. So even though he's going through all this pain, he was so accommodating to anything that needed to happen for the shoot. They need to do a scene again, or they're going to do photos. He would just click it on, just be super professional about it. And in between, he's like, oh, you could tell he wanted to go, but he wasn't being rude to anybody. He was nice and making sure it all was good. And it was awesome. But I was like, man, he's sticking through a lot to make sure, that this all comes out. It's pretty cool to see.
I'm sure I would be that annoying, a-hole talking about Bark at the Moon when I was in 8th grade and like, oh my God, that was like, he'd be like, I wouldn't be able to help myself.
Well, that's that character for this. It was supposed to be more bat-like, but it was based on the, they wanted to kind of like a little bit of tribute to the Bark at the Moon werewolf.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool. Like you see the video, and it's supposed to be like the alternate version of Ozzy. Like Ozzy transforms into this bat creature.
Yeah.
And this was for Jason Collins from Autonomous Effects. He just this was like a demo makeup they did on me for Monster Palooza, and those teeth were made by Aaron Globerman. I used those teeth. I was talking about last week when I shot that thing. I used those teeth for that creature I did last week because they're amazing. But yeah, Jason.
I think before I forget, are you at Monster Palooza this year?
I should be almost always, unless something really crazy comes up. I'll be there. Are you guys gonna be there?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're gonna hang out.
Oh yeah, it's on I think what I love about that, and talk you've already mentioned it a couple of times about the who's who are there, but it's just like the kind of awe-inspiring inspiration weekend for dorks like me who just kind of like, oh my God, that's Thomas Savini. There's you name anybody.
There's Gordon Tarpley.
So my first time on Palooza was like that. It was just like getting introduced to all these people in the industry that I've been admiring for years, and they're all so friendly. And they're like, I just felt like coming from another state, not being in the film industry. You come out and you think it's all like secret handshakes in these studios, or these shops are like all on lockdown, which they kind of are. But also, every time you meet somebody, they're like, "Oh, you should come to the shop and just check it out." I'm like, "Really? You're inviting me to come?" See this place. And it's and yeah, it's like I met Steve Johnson, he made Slimer and all that, it's and I mean, this is crazy. Like this, and again, you kind of get, it's like we talked about those droids earlier, you kind of get desensitized to it when you're around it a bunch. But when I first got here, I couldn't even believe it. You walk around that convention in particular, if you're into practical effects, movie effects, like all the people that you've ever seen are like wandering around there. And,
and that's the best way to put it too. Just wandering around, they're doing the same thing you are, checking it all out.
And they're all friendly. I mean, I haven't met someone that was a jerk yet. Like every single one of them has been super nice. So I was just like, this is the coolest thing. And I think that, they appreciate when people are into the same stuff. Like, people recognize their work. I think I get way more starstruck around those like makers than I do around like actors and stuff.
We got the privilege to have Jordu Shell on a couple times, and then last year when we went out there, Paul and I spent the day over at his shop, just fanboying it up, to your point about he couldn't be nicer, he couldn't be more accommodating and fun, and it's like that's Jordu Shell. It's just the craziest stuff, and it's a magical weekend. I think Paul and I call it like a guy's weekend, but it's become more than that because we have a ton of fun there. But it's
you set up a booth?
We do.
Yeah.
We call it live. We have have all kinds of the nice part is we I guess Paul and I will admit that we troll and find guests while we're at Monster Palooza too. So now it's like a giant reunion. We get to see tons of friends, and it's really fun.
Well, I mean that's the thing. Like so much of the work that I get now comes from. It started now it's kind of spread out a little more, but when I first got here, I was getting like Michael McMaster and Tom Spina just got me just so many crazy opportunities came from those two guys. And Tom Spina, both of them I was friends with online before we ever met in person. And with Tom Spina, I would just stalk his Facebook page for like 2 years. And then he would always have like Photoshop contests and all this stuff. And I would and I worked doing architectural renderings for a really long time. So I was like, master Photoshop. I used Photoshop since version 2.5, good at it. So I'm like, I'm going to win these contests. And that was my goal. I'm going to win this Photoshop contest and impress Tom Spina. And then, and it worked. I won a few of those. And then when we met up in person, again, we clicked, but it was like, you know, as close to being a stalker as possible without being too creepy, you know? And, but yeah, now we talk like multiple times a week, 3 or 4 times a week. And I do work with him all the time. And he's awesome. He's flown me out to his shop in New York. Like, I don't even know how many times I've worked out there for, I mean, it's got to be add up to a couple months now that I've been in New York working at his shop, which is, it's awesome.
Yeah. Again, we got about 10 minutes left, so we got some really great stuff to show you too. So for those of you who stuck around, we got some really fun ones to show you. But this one, this is why you diet, folks.
Yeah.
Cool like this.
And that's this was done by Chloe Sens, was the lead artist on it, and my friend Nick's, I'm blanking on his last name right now, but he's amazing. He's a body painter. And this was, the prosthetics are by RBFX. And this was on they use this makeup for the cover of like a product catalog, I think Mel Products or something. I have a picture of the front somewhere. So I'm on like a lounge chair with like a big gulp. And this is one of those things, I talked about this recently with somebody. They're like, what's the worst prosthetic to wear? I'm like, privacy appliance, that little thing that covers the wiener there, is because it's glued down. So don't go to the bathroom all day, because once that thing's on, it's there. They could remove it and you could go to the bathroom, but that is it.
They don't have like they don't put in like a catheter that comes up like your ankle.
No, can you imagine? I wonder, like, if they got a catheter in there, would you just pee involuntarily during the
you just fill up a bag or something. You know?
Would it really matter? Would it matter?
I don't think so. It'd probably be awesome. It's like,
right? although getting catheterized probably isn't much fun.
Yeah,
so except for the first part.
They got to lube it up. They use the giant one.
Oh.
$1 million idea, Gordon.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Built-in catheter.
Oh, that's from the Will Ferrell, the GM commercial.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome, man.
Let's talk about it, because I love that. I love this look, and I think we got a couple more pictures to show. Including
there he is in the car. I wish we had the video where he's like, right, Gordon? He just calls by your name.
This
so
another crazy experience. I had done Army of the Dead a few years ago, and then I did Rebel Moon like in 2022, and Fractured Effects did all the prosthetics and aliens and all that stuff and the zombies for Army of the Dead, but they did a bunch of the practical effects stuff for Rebel Moon. And when I was on set for one of the days of Rebel Moon, Justin Rowley, who owns Fractured Effects, was there. We were talking, been friends with him online, we communicated a little bit. And like a week later, I guess I was just fresh in his brain. He's like, "Hey, there's a zombie commercial coming up, and do you mind if I submit you for it?" I was like, "Oh, that'd be amazing, thank you." So he put my name in, and they, had me do an audition tape, like walk like a zombie, and all that audition stuff. And then it turns out it was going to be for this GM Netflix, collab commercial, and didn't know Will Ferrell was going to be in it until the day I got there. So I got to set, and I see the storyboards, and it's like Will Ferrell's written on the thing. I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I got there really early. I live far from town, so I always leave super early to make sure I'm never late. So I was like way early. So I'm wandering around, and looked at all the storyboards to see how they're putting this commercial together. And when they did the makeups, they had 6 hero zombies and 15 background zombies. So the 6 heroes were had appliances, on the face and teeth and lenses and all everything. And then the background zombies had really good makeup still. Some of them looked as good as any of the hero zombies, just with the makeup and everything. And I think I've told you guys this before. They lined up the 6 lead zombies, and the director comes in and just looked at us real quick and left, and then sent his assistant back and basically pointed at me like, "It looks like it's going to be either you for the bite or you, but probably you," back to me. And on the storyboards, there's this part where the zombie bites Will Ferrell, and in the commercial, there it goes to all these different Netflix shows, and it's supposed to be a running theme where the people from the different Netflix shows notice the bite on his arm and comment on it, which they didn't do in the commercial. I guess I don't know if they filmed that, but that was in the storyboard where people were, oh, that's not your arm, okay, and then by the end of the commercial, he's now a zombie. And at the end of the commercial, it was, if you've seen Army of the Dead, there is a scene where there's the zombie tiger, because it's in Las Vegas. It's supposed to be one of Siegfried and Roy tigers. It's now a zombie. And that was supposed to be in the truck at the end of the commercial.
Oh, wow.
And about, 3 in the afternoon, I've been shooting all day. And they had all these segments that were like small teaser commercials throughout that they used me for all those too, which was, I think there was like 5 total. And by the end of it, were 5 separate little ads that were put together. So by 3 in the afternoon, they're like, I don't think we're going to be able to get the tiger asset. So we're going to have to use one of the zombies in the truck. And then they just used me again for that. And by this time I was on set with them all day with Will Ferrell. So we'd been chatting and stuff between scenes, and he knew my name. So when I got out the set, there's no lines for a zombie to be in the trucks. They had stuff written for this tiger. So they're like, hey, we're going to ad-lib some stuff. And we did maybe I think about 30 takes, and maybe 4 takes used my name in the take. And one of those shots made it to the Super Bowl commercial. Didn't know it was going to be a Super Bowl commercial at the time either.
Wow.
So when it played back and then my name is in the commercial coming from Will Ferrell's mouth is amazing. And just to have Will Ferrell doing Will Ferrell stuff right at your face is the craziest thing. Again, huge fan of his for a long time, and he's real funny. Yeah. So for example, there's this girl that was doing the sound in the back. She had the little boom mic, and in this truck that we're in, she's in the very back, just like this. You can't see her. Little microphone's poking up between the seats. And we're in the middle, in between a take, and Will Ferrell's like, hey, Joanne, do you think you can get any lower? Just set it real on, like she's invisible. I forgot she's there. And he's totally trolling her, but she's like, trying to get even smaller, and we all start laughing but that's how he was fantastic. It was oh my God, a really good day. And it started out, I really think that they picked me because when I got my teeth, I had done another zombie thing for this Onyx to Fortuitous. The Kickstarter thing. I would get a zombie for that.
Yeah, Creature Kid.
Yeah. And so Adam, Creature Kid. I'll tell you the thing about him in a minute too. I think I might send you some pictures of it, but I'll come back to that. I did the zombie thing, and after we shot the zombie thing, I had my goofy teeth with me, and I put them in my mouth, and it made the face look like way more zombie because these teeth are big and goofy, but it made my face look more caved in, in a weird way, because I had all the stuff around here, so now my lips are out, and it just made me look weirder. And when I did that shoot for the Netflix thing, I got to pick my teeth. They had a bunch of teeth, and I were trying different ones in, and they had some that fit me really nice. It looked like they could be my teeth, but gross. And I was like, no, let me get the bigger, I got the bigger ones. It looked weird. And I was the only person that did that. And it made me look so weird. And I think that's why I legitimately think those teeth are what got me picked. Oh, that was for our Walking Dead, but for the video game, they had some live thing, and it was for.
I was looking at the teeth. I'm like, oh, this might be the teeth.
No, this was actually the teeth were sculpted into this one, and super gross.
Yeah.
What's weird about these kind of makeups is that I can't do a lot of faces with them because the way the face is, if I open my mouth, you see my real teeth.
Right. Yeah.
And it looks weird, right. So I gotta keep my mouth shut all day. It's not quite as fun. It looks gnarly as all get out. But when you're in it for 8 hours, you can't. I don't know. I like to make weird faces at people, and I have to just do it with my eyes.
Everything was just help me.
Yeah.
with only a few minutes left, I wanted to get to this one because a little bit of a Carvers Creators tie-in here.
Yeah.
Tell us about this makeup with.
That is with the amazingly talented Dan Crowley. Sculpted all these Ninja Turtle parts. And I got picked to be Donnie, and it was awesome, and I was quite happy about that. And it was
Dan Crowley's a phenomenal artist, and I love that. I love that. I mean, again, I said it on the show he was on, but I love his take on these. But just a random question: how long does an appliance like that take to put on?
It really depends. I think on average, it's probably about 4 hours, and a lot of the time, there's a good 6 hours of pre-paint done by the artist ahead of time. There's been plenty of times when they put it on me, there's no paint, and they just paint the whole thing on me. But some of these are pre-painted, and this one, Jackie Kuhn, it helped apply this, so you had 2 people kind of putting everything down, and it was the neck, head, and some shoulders, and then the chest and back were just like kind of like a backpack thing to kind of put on there, so it covers a lot, but not too bad. I would say 4 hours probably.
What's your longest?
A little over 8. That was that one where I was trying to have the privacy appliance. That was probably my longest one.
Yeah, full body,
yeah. And there was 4 people working on me in that. It was like a long time.
Before we go, and this is where you can find Gordon any day, every day, and just follow the hell out of him. He's hilarious and fun. It's just like to me it's a break. I just love being able to everything else in the world sucks. It's good to see some fun stuff. Paul, do you want to show what you've made some good progress? I just want to take a look at what you've made so far.
Still blocking. He almost looks like a Shriners guy right now. He's got a fez on him.
Oh, hell yeah.
Awesome, man.
I'm gonna try and turn that into a cowboy hat somehow.
Yeah, he will be. Yeah, that hat will be a full-on cowboy hat. That's really good, Paul. I had no idea you were going with the big mustache. That's cool. I'm going. Mine is just so far kind of I just went with the grumpy part so far.
Wow, you got some great depth out of it.
This thing's like a mile thick. I'm glad it's a big, heavy one so far, but. Now, I hear some scraping going on from Gordon. I don't know if you want to.
I have a whole pumpkin. I don't have any. There's nothing. I'm just trying to get down to the meat of it so I can carve in it. I have the giant pile of shavings down here, but I'm going to have a thing. When it's time for check-in on your next episode, I should have something cool for you.
Oh, that's cool. Dude, we couldn't be happier that not only did you take the challenge and you're carving an actual effing pumpkin in the middle of March, which is just mind-boggling. Dude, you've been a fantastic and really fun guest, and I think we should have you and Dan come back, or we'll do a challenge. Anyway, Paul, I think between you and me, we'll probably have another hour of questions for Gordon.
At the minimum. We'd love to have you back, Gordon.
I would love to. Anytime. I would love it. I would love it because it's super, super fun. And I mean, when it was like, get some pictures for the show, I was like, oh my God, where do I start? I have no idea what we're going to talk about. So I'm trying to okay, how can I tie all this stuff together? Because I got lots and lots of random stuff, as you probably saw. So
yeah, but that's what makes the stories fun, because you're like, oh, this one, and then we just go down the rabbit hole. It's so much fun to hear about all the crazy things you've done, man.
Dude, it's crazy how stuff ties together in life, just in life in general. When I look at a thing and I'm like, how did I get to this point? I mean, I'm not kidding. Nothing feels real to me. I'm like, what the hell? Like half the days of the week, I'm just like, how am I doing this? Like, this is the coolest. This is
so awesome.
It's in a good way, but it's just like, it feels strange, like in a detached, weird way. Like I don't even know. Like I'm legit like, is this all real? Are we in a simulation, like Elon says? It's like,
well, we weren't going to tell you, but you had the Neuralink put in a couple years ago.
Yeah. And, shit, we're there. I'm just dreaming all this stuff.
You've been for 5 years. Did you know that?
Ooh. That's kind of awesome. I'm on a spaceship heading off to some weird planet right now.
You'll be in Mars in about 15 minutes, I think.
And like a saline solution just floating around like a little baby.
Smells great in there. And the catheters, filling it up.
That's where the catheter idea came from.
The catheter comes back. There's going to be an angry cat on board your ship. By the way.
Oh, that's right. That was the last thing we carved.
We forgot to take it off.
Well,
this is where you can find.
Definitely gotta have you back, man.
Yeah, we totally do. This is where you can find Gordon, and then here's where you can find us and all the socials and all this good stuff. Paul, any last words?
Just want to say thanks again to Gordon for sharing your time with us. It's a pleasure to actually meet you and put put a face kind of to some of the funniest commercials I've seen recently. So that was pretty cool for me.
Thanks so much, man. I super appreciate being invited. It's awesome. And then, like I said, there's got a couple friends that you should have on if you can get them.
Yes, yes. Well,
Yeah.
sit tight because we are going to get those names from you.
Yeah,
but for the rest of us, we're going to have to say good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Carvers and Creators, and we're going to see you next week.
Yep. See you next week. Bye, guys.